Hello, I'm Namjan and welcome back to another diorama build. Today we'll be making an abandoned building diorama out of recycled materials and trash. First, I'm going to use an acrylic canvas as my base and then layer basswood on top. We don't need that much, so I'm going to use a ruler and a pencil to cut off the overhang. Make sure to keep the rest of this overhang though, because we need to still use it for the rest of the canvas. And just with one piece of wood, we've conveniently covered the entire base. Now I'm going to glue it down sturdily with this hot glue gun by spreading it over evenly on the canvas. And with that, now we have our base. Okay, we need to do a little bit of a desk cleanup because I don't want to be breathing in any wood chips. Now I'm going to rip apart this cardboard box to use for our building. I found this box in the back of my room, so now it's going to live a better life. I'm not using any references for this building, so I'm starting to mark out where I want my building to start with and where I want the road to be. I've decided this building to be 3 stories tall, so I cut out 4 pieces for the first level. With all 4 walls, I'm gluing it down with a hot glue gun. Most of my builds are made from hot glue because they dry really fast and I do not have the patience to wait for things to dry that long. I'm going to continue this fashion of gluing down walls, but first I want to mark out where my windows and doors will be on each level. I'm going to cap off this first level with this piece of cardboard, and then I'm going to again do the walls by cutting out windows and doors. This piece of cardboard here would be the inside of the sandwich of the first floor and the second floor. Despite studying architecture at university right now, I decided to make the building not architecturally complex and complicated. The building would be covered in graffiti and foliage anyways, so sorry to my professors if they're watching this. I promise I'll make something better in studio. Now I'm going to add this overhang with the extra piece of cardboard on the 3rd floor. I wanted to make a building that looked irregular because it seems more cooler when it's abandoned and covered in foliage. And then to top of the 3rd floor, I made a roof. Now that we've officially completed our base structure, we're going to start with the weathering and texturing. I'm using wall filler to create texture that looks like concrete once it's dry. It's kind of like a builder's yogurt. I'm smoothing the paste with my hands, which is something you probably shouldn't do with your bare hands, but I'm just going to put a warning that your hands will get very dry after a week. After coating everything with wall filler, I'm using air dry modeling clay to create the bricks. What I usually do is I cover the surface where I want the bricks to be, and then I use the back of a paintbrush to mark out and kind of make like lines of where I want the bricks to be placed. It's a very slow process, but you get the freedom to choose how exactly you want your bricks to look like, and the end result is really worth it. Before we glue all of the levels permanently together, I'm going to add glass on all of the windows. I'm using lamination paper and then cutting it to size. Lamination paper is a perfect way to emulate glass that shows what's behind inside the building, but not completely, as you can see here. I'm now using a hot glue gun to glue all these levels together and make sure that they're permanently sealed. And I hope I didn't forget anything inside. From here, we are now going to put window frames using balsa wood on top of the glass panes that we just did. And I'm adding some small bars using wooden skewers for a little bit of detailing on the windows. I'm now covering the holes with an actual door which is made out of cardboard and wooden skewers. That is a door that doesn't actually work, but as Studs Studio once famously said,
also known as a door-themed wall.
Anyways, now I'm figuring out that the 3rd floor seems quite unstable, so I'm adding these thick wooden skewers to look like it has pillars for stability. I'm going to add 3 of these to make sure it has maximum stability so my building doesn't fall down. We need some sort of way to get up to the 2nd floor, so I'm now beginning to build the stairs using cardboard and cut out balsa wood. I'm roughly eyeing where I want to put each of these steps for the stairs. Now we need to make sure that people won't fall off the stairs, so I'm going to add railings using balsa wood sticks and skewers. I use balsa wood for a lot of my builds because it's really easy to cut, and actually in architecture we use them a lot for models because they're really soft. I'm just adding a final railing right near the pillars because I don't want people to fall off that either. Now we have our base structure completely finished with all our details, and I'm going to use the same air dry modeling clay to put it onto the floor for a more realistic ground texture. Again, I'm using my hands to evenly spread all the clay across the floor because I feel like there isn't much tools that can help other than your hands. Now that it's all dry and perfect, we can actually start painting. I'm using acrylic paint, a brush, and a cup of water as well to wash my brushes. Okay, let's lay our building down to make it easier to paint, and I'm going to mix this really Nutella-esque color, and we're going to use this for the bricks. I'm painting each of my bricks individually with a paintbrush and making sure that I don't go in between the gaps. We're going to use the same method that we did in the first phase on the second phase of bricks as well and continue painting the bricks individually. It doesn't matter if you make a little mistake or if it's too neat or too perfect because we're going to cover it with weathering and foliage anyways. And it's okay if you make mistakes like this one. Oops. But it's okay. We're going to use a big brush now to start doing the weathering and painting the white walls a more darker color. I use like a grayish brown yellow kind of tone and I just covered all the walls with the same color. Again, I'm not worrying too much about being neat because this is an abandoned place and it's meant to be messy and not neat. So in fact, this gives us free weathering. So it's okay, don't worry. We're just going to finish up this last bit of weathering on the building and now we're going to work on the soil part where I want all of my foliage and trees to go from. This color is sort of like a Biscoff color and then now I'm using a darker brown to add some shading. And we can't forget to paint the doors. Usually in my abandoned buildings I paint them dark green because it fits the best and it adds a little bit of pop of color whilst matching all of the foliage around the building. I made sure to paint that other door as well and this is our finished painting look. I'm adding some detailing using corrugated cardboard to add a little bit more detail on the windows. I figured the roof was quite plain, so I used the same corrugated cardboard and I decided to make an angled roof. I'm going to add some shingles on the roof as well by creating a more rectangular and thin rectangle of cardboard and then sticking it on top of each other and layering it. I think this looks a lot better than having no roof and just having an open space, which also allows us to have a little bit more weathering on top. Now I'm going to do one of my favorite parts, which is graffiti. I'm using acrylic Posca pens and I'm just drawing on wherever I want to, where I think the graffiti fits the best. And what I'm doing is I'm referencing from Pinterest or pictures that I've taken outside to draw the graffiti. I don't have any experience in drawing much graffiti, so I recommend you to go a bit faster with graffiti so it seems more natural and flowy. I'm going to add the final step, which is foliage, and I'm adding these fake trees onto my building to make it look really overgrown. And finally, I'm going to put some hot glue and sprinkle on this grass foliage on top. It has also little rocks as well, which makes the scenes really realistic, and I like to surround my buildings in these. By adding a few more details like little prints and stickers, and after shaking off the whole building, it's time to finally show you guys the beauty shots. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching the whole thing, and please comment down below what you want me to build next, and I'll see you guys in another video. Thank you so much and subscribe.